to live stream the meeting.
You clicked on the last one, right? On device.
Yeah. It's redirecting to the live streaming page. There we go.
Hello, where we are. Yeah, now it's coming. There we go.
Yeah. It's redirecting to the live streaming page. There we go.
So I know this is working. Hello, friends. How about I give an introduction, Ingrid? Do you think that's okay? Do you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. It just kind of froze for a minute. Okay.
Well, we are in the conversation, the live conversation we have almost every week between Ingrid Huffman and Julian Catari. Ingrid's in Oklahoma and I'm in Jalapa, Mexico. And we are speaking about freedom, and we are wanting to reach out to anybody that is listening to the word freedom and wanting freedom and fighting for freedom, because we have that in mind, and we've had that in mind for a long time, and we've been searching for that freedom, and we have gotten to the point where we need to speak out and get together and fight for freedom together. We want to come together, and that's our motivation in this conversation. We want to do something about it. We want to go beyond speaking. Here we're speaking, but we're speaking about coming together and doing something about this. So that's what our Freedom Nation is, and I think there's a lot to share and speak about the current events, the situation with the fights for freedom and what they mean and what's behind them. And we've spoken about this before, but we should cover, I think, a little background about it. We believe that there's more to freedom than just this situation. I mean, I'm seeing how people are coming together for this fight against tyranny and this restrictions and this what I call the ID-19 operation, and they have that very clear, and they're really well awake about that matter. But then there's this whole other process of how that came into being, how that depends on a previous programming that we're all inevitably in, and a matrix system, a machine that you so well described in your last text and video, that we're all part of, right? As long as we don't choose not to be. And that's what you've been doing, Ingrid, and I hope I've been doing, and we want to invite people to do, and we want to speak about that, and in general give them this perspective on freedom. So that's a long introduction. What do you have to share about the latest events, Ingrid? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts, your latest heart's feeling?
So let's talk about this freedom wave started by the Canadian truckers that gathered in many places across the country of Canada, many border crossings, and specifically mostly in Ottawa, Ontario. And we watched this last week as people recorded it, as the hired goons, they called them UN troops, came in, but they're hired mercenaries, because this is what the Rothschild banking empire does. They hire mercenaries to fight for them. So they brought in these hired mercenaries, and we watched one run over a old lady on her wheelchair, motorized wheelchair. His statement was that she threw a bicycle at him. And so that gave him justification to run her over and put her in the hospital with his horse. And they were shooting rubber bullets and tear gas into the crowd and stuff like this. Just hired thugs. That's all they are. And people are saying they are ashamed of the RCMP, and they got to understand this is not RCMP. This is hired goons. This is hired thugs by the banking empire. So then we saw on BitChute a Canadian male, living man, put forth a video calling all truckers to just stop hauling and everyone to join this freedom wave and just stop going to work. That would really bring the money empire to their knees. And he made the statements they can't do anything about that unless they conscript you by fiat into slavery. And that's where I told you we need to discuss this, because we need to understand that we've all been conscripted by fiat from our birth into slavery. So we're starting on March 1, we're starting this course of change your slavery status, where the first week will get the single most important thing you can do, and that is file a UCC1. And we'll cover all that on March 1. But let's go on into some more depth with this. Part of the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. We already own nothing because we've been conscripted by fiat into slavery from the day we were born. Even though you think you own a vehicle, if you registered it to have license plates, you are now only the caretaker of it. The Department of Motor Vehicles owns it because it's registered to the Department of Motor Vehicles, or whatever it's called in Canada or any other country.
Right. So that means that means let me develop that a little bit more. That means that everything is legally not owned by you. So we have this trust in the legal system and our registries and our licenses and titles, and all that is the title to your debt and to your this
fiat conscripted slavery. Yeah.
Your inability to not be outside of that. I mean, there's a legal status for that, and you are actively participating in it, right?
Right. So what this is, the further depth behind what Klaus Schwab means with you will own nothing and be happy is the freedom from debt. Because our whole financial system is based on debt. The stock market was built on debt. Gambling on somebody else's debt issue. That's where the stock market originated. We have to understand that our whole money system is built on debt. So when he says you will own nothing and be happy, that means they're also planning this quotes debt jubilee of just wiping clean everybody's debt, which is great, because that with a fiat money system you can do that easily. However, your conscription into slavery owns that debt. Your fiat self, your corporate strawman self owns that debt. So they can't. And I'm not totally understanding this myself, but the more I talk about it, I'm sure the more the enlightenment will come. But so even though he says you will own nothing and be happy, meaning we'll wipe away your debt, there's still, and people are calling this Nasara and Jasara, and there's some huge ass bullshit going on about that. People I know a woman that's telling everyone that follows her that people under Nasara and Jasara, they're going to get $100 million for every man, woman, and child And I've heard another person say 400,000. And now we think of the fact that they're freezing bank accounts of the Canadian truckers and whoever, what was one statement, whoever might be a Trump supporter that donated to the trucker, the convoy. But the IRS tried at the beginning of this year or some point during last year to say, from this day forward, you're going to have to explain to us in detail every month why you have more than $600 in your bank account. And it just clicked to me that the reasoning behind that is because that's the living stipend they plan to give us from the central bank digital blockchain that's coming, where they will control our wallet. That's going to be our monthly living. They're going to give us, right? So,
and it's a social system where you can, if you get
right.
donated to it, can also be denied and canceled.
Yeah, no, you're not buying beer this month. No, yeah, no, you didn't eat enough greens, so you're not buying beer. That's exactly what they can do with that. So this freedom wave, they're fighting for freedom, but they're standing for freedom, and they're not fully understanding how deep this rabbit hole goes. And I'm so thankful that the truckers are standing firm. While they're relocating from Ottawa to other places, they're still standing firm. And this call by this guy for other truckers to just stay home and stop trucking. And he also said to just non-trucker people, don't stop sitting on your ass and letting us do the fight for you. You need to join us. You need to stop going to work. You need to bring this corporate system to its knees, and which will happen if we all stand together, right? They can only, and then, so now the US Freedom Convoy, the People's Convoy is starting. From what I understand, there's going to be 456,000 trucks descending on Washington, D.C. And tying up the beltway around Washington, D.C. until mandates get lifted and freedom is returned. So one of the best things we can do is that the People's Convoy has if you go to their website, you can register with them as a supporter. I think it's very important, and people are saying that this will bring in martial law to the United States, like happened in Canada. And my answer to that is they don't have enough goons for hire to send into every city across the world. This freedom wave is happening across the world. So we need to stand in solidarity, and we need to understand that until we free ourselves from the Uniform Commercial Code, the fiat conscript and slavery, we are slaves. And this freedom wave goes much deeper than just lifting the ID-19 restrictions.
That's the message. And to think, okay, so what we can do is just don't go to work. That's a great idea. That's, I think, the best idea. Now, what does that imply? What does that mean? Right? That means that now you're going to have to figure what you're going to eat and how you're going to live, right? And it becomes facing the decision to get off grid, which is simply said, but it's a complete transformation of your lifestyle and your habits and your perception of life and how you live it, and how time goes by, and how and what death is to you, and a whole bunch of changes that most people don't want to do also, right? So they want freedom, but they don't want freedom, or they want freedom
they're tied
just
to
from
money.
the ID-19 situation. They want the world as it was before 2019. They were happy with that.
And it's never going to happen. This is what we have to understand, is there is no going back to normal. right? We see the evidence in Canada of pure tyranny. And I listened to an episode on with Steve Bannon the other day, and he made the comment of anarchy in Canada. And this is where we need to talk about the word anarchy. There's not anarchy in Canada. Anarchy means no king. It's not anarchy, it's
Right.
tyranny.
So, yeah,
Pure tyranny.
That's what we were talking about just before entering the show. The definition of anarchy and how not having a clear definition of anarchy causes major differences in conversations and viewpoints of people. And yeah, so what I've observed, Ingrid, is that the meaning that's given to anarchy many times by the use of people who use that word is as lack of structure, right? Of disorder,
Lawlessness.
right? So there's an element of chaos, of chaos, right? There's an element of that, which is you know we've studied it and it's there, but it's not absolute lack of structure, right? Anarchy simply means, just the word means, one ruler is not in charge of that structure, right? Or at least not a human ruler, you know, not a king, right? It can be a nature or a creation or a god or whatever you want to call it, Earth, cosmos, but it's not a king. It's not a human king. It's not. And that's what we do have. We have to realize one world government. Where's this coming from? From one world government. What does that mean? And what is, I mean, you're talking about how they want to sell us the idea that we're going to get into a system where we own nothing, where in fact that's the system that has already been so long. We just didn't know about it. And this situation is having people come to the inevitable wall of getting to know about it, right? They just have to see the wall of that prison. And they don't want to see it. Many people don't want to see that and don't want to realize, oh, okay, so I got to get out of this prison. That's something. I was having a hard time just in whatever my story was, and now I have to add to that story the fact that I got to escape the matrix. Which is it's a big call. It's a long call, and that's where the hero element comes in. And you speak a lot about that, Ingrid, and about that
warrior hero.
Warrior being part of the essence of spirituality and of the meaning of having a life and of life, right? So do we want to be free? We have to be warriors. We have to really assume that reality, not as an idea, not as a dream, but as your actual doing of every day, your actual work, or your actual direction in life, right? You got to be working towards that direction, knowing that you are trapped this much into the system, and you want to walk out. You know, you're not out because you just want to. You can't just change your mind and, oh, I'm outside of the system, I'm okay, right? You actually have to do the work and quit the job and get to think, what do I need to do? Well, I need to grow my food. Oh, look at this. There's always been on the earth cultures that have lived like that from the earth, and they're actually there. We just been taught to ignore them and think they're not there. Yeah,
because we live inside technology.
Yeah, so that's the broad message. And yeah, I think it's a big wall that people need to see. And And the
Well,
first,
and we're,
first step would be quitting the
we're
job.
gonna be rudely woken up. For those people that don't want to see it, it's gonna be, we're gonna be rudely woken up, because every economist I've been watching is predicting a huge stock market crash, like a 90%.
Right. And you know, an element about this, because we're talking about something that, I mean, we've been slapped already, I think. I think that we have to part from the present, where it already at the present, it's already tyrannical, like extremely bad. And not base, I don't base Ingrid, my decision on purely it's gonna get worse, right? I base
Well,
my quest as
let me say this. It doesn't have to get worse. It's up to each and every one of us. The more blind we refuse, the more blind we choose to be, the more asleep we choose to stay to be, the worse it's going to get. But it doesn't have to get worse.
right. That's yeah. That's how it really is, and that's the congruence that is it. It takes it really takes a freedom warrior to come to, Ingrid. You really have accomplished thinking outside of the box and outside of the system, outside of the matrix, and understanding how it works and how to get out of it, how to really, you know, come out of that, and seeing that you can come out of that, because that image is not even there. The imagination of how we can live, and how, or maybe the memory of how we have lived in on the earth before, right?
Our ancestral memory is there. Our ancestral souls are calling us to do this. And once we can leave, I'm going to do another Vimeo video about, and put it on Facebook also, about computers, and then we'll talk about TV. Once you can leave the matrix of TV programming and allow your creativity to come forward again, we can figure out, we don't need the patents held in suppression of free energy, so to speak, and whatever else, whatever other people are saying is, oh, the patents are there, we don't need that. That's another farce, the US Patent Office. We don't need those patents. A young African boy some years ago didn't need any patents when he went to the library and got a book and figured out how to build a windmill, and went and collected trash to build his windmill with, and gave his village power and running water with this windmill. This is the kind of creativity that will come forth when we leave the matrix of television programming, computer programming, and return to the speed, the slow turtle speed of nature.
Right. And nature, may I say,
we can have our own World Wide Web around them, because we've got to understand the World Wide Web was created as a net of control. It was never meant to give us freedom. It was DARPA, the CIA, the Gestapo of the world. They and I just found out last night that Sergey Brin, who founded Google, he created that Google was his PhD thesis. Guess who funded him? The CIA. Right? All our technology was created for war. So we can leave the war realm and create the same, safer, or not necessarily the same, but different. With our, we can have our own World Wide Web. We can have our own, we can power our own villages. But it takes a creativity, a spirit of, it takes the warrior courage to say, I've had enough of being a slave.
Yeah, and it takes a first step. It takes, that big, huge first step of turning
the willingness
around.
to recognize that you are a conscripted slave.
Yeah, and that means turning around. I mean, that means going back to the direction you were going against the current. I love your term. I always use it. The salmon economics, where this economy of being free means going against the current of the current economy, of the economic system, of the slavery system. It means it's just,
Yeah, well,
I mean, sometimes
that's a totally human contrived thing. You know, economy and economic system is a totally human contrived thing. Salmon economics, it's a INI, because at every step of its journey, the salmon is, while it's receiving, it's giving back. And in its death, it gives the most.
Right. Well, I always took it as
INI system.
Swimming against the current.
That too.
And yeah, there's a system. I mean, that doesn't mean going against the economical system doesn't have to mean having like this absolute chaos, have no system. It means there is a system, there is a culture, there is knowledge. It's not tyranny, it's not law, like enforced or enforceable law. It's simply knowledge that people voluntarily choose to follow because it's order, it's good, it's a good thing, right? And there's plenty of that. There's plenty of, I mean, you're using the word INI, which is a huge concept in the Andean world. It's the reciprocity and the community, that the work that we give to get back, right? It's, you know, I do for you.
It's a give and receive. It's not a give and take,
and
like we think.
that's a like a part of nature that has been taken away from us because the system we live in does not work that way. It works kind of the other way around. It's about you, and in this complex monetary system where you don't need to, you know, there is, I mean, INI still exists anyways in your reality, want it or not. But the main force is the money system, which is something that where you actually, I mean, you're taught to reach an age and get away from your parents because that's being grown up. You don't want to be, I mean, if you're grown and you're with your parents, that means that you are not independent. You know, this logic of the economic system of dividing the family. I mean, that's the goal. It's you becoming economically independent from your family, right? So it's just funny.
Which is all a lie. Well, and every
you're never really independent. Yeah.
Every economist I've been listening to lately is singing the same song. Our money system is done. It's collapsing. So it's time, and anarchy is not waiting for a monarchy to reinstitute a centralized money system, which they're going to try. They're very much going to try to institute this central bank issued blockchain currency of $600 a month after they buy us off with $400,000 to buy a nice house with a swimming pool and a nice vehicle. I've already drawn my line in the sand with the universe and said, I will never accept that. Now show me how to live without money. Show me how to get out. Show me how to dissolve this system and live without money.
Right. And that's the extremism that some people hear from. I mean, they think we're being kind of precipitated.
Until they get stuck in a little cell with goggles and are given $600 a month to live on, and their energy is harvested, because that's the end goal.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
and we're close
Bill
to
Gates and this lady, this satanic woman, Milena Abramovich, or whatever her name is, from Eastern Europe. They've created these goggles that will be connected to Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse.
Right. which
And
by
your
the
job
way,
is to lay on
so
your
far
back
it's
or
not
sit in your chair, watching life through these goggles while they harvest your energy, and you get $600 a month.
right. So that means you're not going to be having fun. You're not going to be going out.
No,
You're just going to be able to
no,
eat and watch your goggles and live there in your apartment, in your comfortable apartment.
yeah.
So I think we're already so close to that. I mean, I think they've already
Oh,
taken
it's in the testing phase.
so
They
much
are
away
testing
from
it.
us already.
Yeah.
Community, the intimate, the real intimate and non-toxic relationship with ourselves, with our other human beings, with our partners, with our
It
moms and
starts
dads.
with ourselves. We have to have a non-toxic relationship with ourselves first.
Right. And
We
there's
have to become our
ways
internal. We have
that
to have it. We have to have an internal monarch.
yeah. And about that, Ingrid, I mean, we have to really be warriors, because I actually believe that they've polished a system of we control your mind, and we
Oh,
keep you in touch,
absolutely.
we keep you
Just wait.
toxified, filled with the toxical
Yeah.
uh,
Let's,
substances
when
you
I
need,
talk about television, yeah, yeah.
and energies and electromagnetic waves that are, designed to. I was going through that. I don't know if you watched that. It's a long presentation, like a 2-hour long presentation on
Yeah,
history
I
of mind.
started to, and then I lost it.
Yeah, it's
But what we have to remember is these electromagnetic fields our bodies can handle, right? They get focused on these waves and tell us they're bad, but our bodies are made of these waves. They're just harnessed.
and I would
And
say influenced, or kind of like modified to try to, and also harnessed in the sense of they of the knowledge that produces, the data they get from it about us, right? The analytics.
yeah,
That's a big, but I mean, according to what I just saw in this long presentation, they have the ability to, from the satellites, actually monitor brain waves and know what state we're in, what we're thinking about.
Because after they map the human genome, they map the human brain. They've been mapping the human brain just to figure out how we think. This is all part of trying to tie us to
and then we
AI,
have
to
the
make us
nanotechnology. We have the nanotechnology. So we have to, I mean, have so much into consideration. I mean, we're fighting against mandates, but then do we want to see what's really going on with the injections they're giving? I mean, it's wrong just for them to be forced, or there's something way more wrong about them, which is what they really are, which is, this technology that's trying to influence you even more, because to me, the mind and the spiritual worlds were already have been, harvested or put into farms. I mean, we already lived inside of like a mind farm, or a spiritual farm, where we cannot expand and be greater and be the full potential we are in this spiritually. I mean, and we always have to be stuck in this really heavy, thick karma and pollution and state, right?
Well, the thing we have to remember about these would-be globalists, because they are would-be, they think they've got us, just because they conscripted us by fiat into slavery. They think they've got our souls too, and there's no containing the soul. It's about us returning to our true source, and aligning our soul with our souls, and our soul and the work of the gods, our true work, which is not making a living and having a financial life and having toys and dying of a disease at the age of 70, like they say. It's living, it's doing the work of the gods is what you came here to do. And it what am I trying to say? The train kind of left the station without me. It doesn't, we have to understand that even though they think they've got us controlled, they don't. They can't control our souls. They cannot control our souls.
Yeah, that
and
message
so
was going through loud and clear.
Our would-be captors, put it that way, our would-be controllers, they weren't prepared for these the convoys and all the people that came out in the peaceful way. That's why they had to do things like plant weapons and right, and run over grannies with their horses
and hold on to what they can do, because
so we have to remember they don't, the only way they have absolute power is if we give it to them. So let's call them our would-be globalists, our would-be captors, our would-be. Only if we say yes, we can say no to all this.
Right. So that's another point of view that okay, so that all of this is true, but am I strong enough to get rid of that? I mean, I resign so many souls. I see so many people. I see like getting convinced to this point about the matrix being there and how it traps you. But they will tell you this, you know, they'll say, oh, but you know, what can I do? You know, they don't see, they don't want to do the effort. They don't want to do the work, right? Because there's a work involved.
It's coming to the point where you either got to choose or you're going to be a piece of meat. That's all.
Right. So that's a 2.0 version of slavery, folks.
You can either say yes to freedom, or you say yes to being to the would-be slaver.
But that's true. That pointing out, that's true. It is just like that. It is, if you don't choose to get out of it, you're gonna get slapped into a worse version of it. That's the warning. I think that's a congruent warning, because that's a message that we're getting from the universe and from what is happening. I mean, that's the present. It's not the future. That's the present. So
yeah.
let's not.
And I heard a Canadian trucker say, I like the spirit. So what? So what? They froze our bank accounts. That's not gonna stop us. We have other ways. That's the spirit. That's the warrior spirit we need. Screw the bank accounts. Screw the money. That's how they control you. That's right. That's why, you know, I heard an economist say, well, you know, not everyone went along with it for the disease part. They went, you know, they got the jab because they wanted to travel. Well, or they wanted to keep their job. Well, there you have it. It's the money. If you say, like the trucker did, screw the money, screw the bank accounts, we have our own ways. That's the little boy in Africa who went to the library and learned how to build a windmill and gave his village water and running water and power.
Right.
That's the warrior spirit that says, screw them. We've got our own way. We've got our way around this. So they think they froze our bank accounts and have shut us down. We're not backing down. That's the warrior spirit right there. That's the pride. Yeah. That's the pride that takes the mask off the face and says, I'm a human and I'm not going to put up with this shit anymore.
Yeah, which still, I think, will turn down a little bit some people that have that delusion of, or they've been like programmed to see the work of life, which to me is being with animals and being on a farm and being in touch with other living beings, as something from the past, or as something negative, or as something that is less, like at the bottom of the social structure. Oh, I don't want to be at the bottom of the social structure.
Well, because they've been feeding us through TV. Think of all the sci-fi movies and everything they've been inundating us since the beginning, since the 40s. All these videos of pictures, these snapshots of high-rise and flying around in a hover vehicle, and never do you see a blade of grass, right, or a tree, or so they've fed us this concrete utopia that doesn't exist.
That's it. Look at that. I mean, that's so transforming. The regular programming for the word utopia is it's regular. It's used to tell us that the natural world is impossible and it's not here. That the state of the status quo is the skyscrapers of New York, right? That's the world, right? Everything else is something from the past that we're getting rid of. We are surpassing.
We're so much more civilized and we're domesticated. Well,
and
that's just
and utopia, and this perfect life in nature where everybody's happy and tranquil is utopic. But the fact is the other way around, as most things are, just totally turned around, which is this world of the skyscrapers and this machine that is, I mean, it can only run for so long, right? It's not the status quo because it cannot be permanent. It can run for a little while, but then it's gonna eat itself out, and it's just gonna burst, and it's gonna collapse.
Just gonna disappear,
collapse on its own size and imbecility. I mean, it's just.
Look at how many other civilizations that have gone before us have just poofed into nothingness.
Yeah.
This is the point we're at. We're either going to poof into nothingness, right? Or we're gonna listen to our ancestral spirits, souls, and start and get out of the machine matrix, the grip of technology, and live in harmony with nature and evolve with her. That's the only two options.
And that's such a powerful and helpful message for me to replay and really highlight, because I've been trying to, I'm in touch with Freedom Cells here in Jalapa, the city I'm in, and they are very anxious to get growing stuff and seeing the feeding part of it, right? And but according to a vision, which is where it's still led by mechanistic time, and there has been no real deep transformation of the psyche and the perception of what does it mean? What other holistic changes come about when you begin this process of getting out of the system? And that's a big.
We all focus on the end of the journey. We all want to be there, but we don't realize that it takes, the first step is awareness. And people could come look at the way I live and say, well, you're still very much entrenched in the system. I am. I have standard electricity. I have internet. I drive a big vehicle. I have municipal water. And it's the part we've got to remember is this is first it starts with an awareness, and it starts with, as Rumi said, you put your feet on the path and the path will open. So I've told the universe I don't want standard solar, because you have to have a bank of batteries. I want someone to come to mystery school that wants to develop something different. I want to get off the water grid. I want to get off the electrical grid. I do. And it's all part of the journey. But it starts with the awareness and the willingness to say, I want off. I want out. Show me how.
Right.
So this
And that
is
part,
like,
and also the part of coming together, because people want out, but they want out in their own private, independent, my house, my, you know, my property. Or then I want to have my property. So I'm going to go to the course where I learn about permaculture because I want to do it in my space. I don't want to share with, or if I share is, you know, use trading. But there is, some people are not seeing the community really. They're not seeing the necessity, that this also very important loss we've had recently of contact with people and relationships with people, and of plural relationships, of a community type of relationship, the circle of you know, of a dynamic, a group dynamic, which is never found really, except maybe if you play sports or I don't know, in the modern setting.
not even hardly that. Yeah.
The modern setting
I
is
think,
your job, your office, you know,
yeah.
your secretary, and your
And
car.
I don't know my neighbors across the street or that live beside me. And, you know, we each have our own lawnmower and, you know, we do.
Yeah.
What if, so like the people of the Freedom Cell you're working there with that lady that has the big house, what if everyone came together and tore up the grass in the backyard and created a food forest back there?
Yeah, well, this Saturday,
there's your Freedom Cell.
yeah, this
I mean,
Saturday,
there's your first village. There's your first eco village right there.
yeah, well, that's actually happening. We are Saturday, we're going to be building a chicken house to have chickens in her house. And
well, that's a start, but I mean, you know, there's a lot to permaculture more than chickens.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah, maybe
there's a lot to create. There's a lot more to creating a food forest than just having a chicken, just having chickens. And it seems like that's the most popular place people start with is chickens. Well, it's great to have your own eggs, and I'm not belittling that by any stretch of the imagination, but a food forest, permaculture food forest takes 7 years to develop, and it's fucking hard work.
Yeah, she doesn't have space.
It is very, well, you don't have to have space. One of Jeff Lawton's students did it in his 600 square meter backyard in Australia, and he produces 600 kilos of food out of that. Nuts, fruits, berries, vegetables, you name it. He produces out of that 600 square meter backyard.
Yeah, I don't even know if she has that, but
what I'm saying
not my
is
house, so I have no idea.
You can take any space and turn it into a permaculture, a food forest. Yeah. You can turn your patio into a food forest, just a smaller scale.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you can urbanly do. I guess there's a lot of models, and you know, I hear a lot about the models that are more urban based. I'm more in tune with some, well, forestry models. You know, I speak from the they call me the extreme forestry because in my place.
Yeah, no, I mean it's much more cognizant to get out of the concrete jungle. You know, then there's the other thing, like the Freedom Cell meeting I went to on Saturday in Tulsa. I was talking to the guy that sat beside me, and he's like, yeah, well, on our little homestead, I thought I'd do chickens, and we drive to Arkansas to get this organic feed and do this and do that. And by the time it was all said and done, I had $20 into each bird. And I realized that it's just easier for me to pay a local farmer to raise the birds for me, so I don't have to do that. And I wanted to say to him, well, you don't have to drive to get organic food. You let the chickens do what they do. Right? This is, we have this vision of this neat packaged, well, we've got to go get organic feed, we've got to go do this, we've got to just put them out there and let them be chickens.
Yeah. I
Right?
gotta get my course
we,
and putting chickens.
you know, we feed our ducks, and some of them, we have geese that people have given us, geese and ducks that refuse to be put up every night with our standard herd, so they don't get fed at all, and they're doing fine. You know, when I get the spoilage food from the food bank, it's really funny. One time, a couple of months ago, we got pears, upon boxes and boxes of pears, 50-pound boxes of pears. And when we got to the bottom of the stack, we noticed that we knew that the geese and ducks had drilled holes through the cardboard box. But when we got to the bottom of the stack, somehow they had managed to eat the entire box of 50 pounds, the entire 50 pounds of pears out of that hole. They're very resourceful, you know? You don't need to drive 100 miles to go get organic food to be organic. You know, go to your local food bank, go to, it's right, or you know, and go to your street vendors and say, what do you do with the food, the farmers produce, right?
There's a shelf mentality, a store mentality.
Yeah.
I you know, let's choose a land. I mean, I lived a situation where land chose me. I did not.
Yeah, the land does, it will do that.
And you know, I never shopped for a piece of land. I never done that. I never like thought, oh, I want to see the price of a piece of land. Well, I guess also because I've never been I'm in the economical range or class that I know that I would have to invest all of my life into jumping that, to jump a ladder in the you know, if I would have been a lawyer, I don't know, or some type of engineer, I don't know, to, you know, to seek out money and being able to,
well, I mean,
to shop for land, you know, 'cause in the state I'm in, I can't do that.
Mother Earth can't be bought. That's just another lie we tell ourselves.
And that's one of, yeah, that's one of the things I focus most on. Yeah, and you know, just a regular, I mean, when you change your worldview, it's you know, I get asked a lot about my my coca leaf, right? And because you know, in the Andes, coca leaf is, it's a spiritual, it's a being, and everything's a being. All things are beings, right? And you know, people, the first question they ask when they see my coca leaf bottle is, what is that? What does that serve? And they use that word in Spanish. What that would be like a literal translation. You know, what does it serve for? Right? And to me, that's already like super shocking, because why does our relationship with the plant have to come down to a material servitude? Right? It's got a property, and I'm just using it. I'm taking advantage of it. It's a material thing. It's not a living being, right? And that reflects on the land where, oh, I want to be here, and or, you know, if I believe in buying, that's what gives me the property, right? The fact that I paid for it makes me own it. Do you think that the land spirit there is thinking, oh, okay, he bought me, now I love him?
Yeah, no, no, no. No, not at all. And I was still in that mindset. I purchased this place we're on, and I've told the universe since I want out from this type of relationship. So, but I didn't know at the time on this stage of the journey that I should just open and allow the universe to bring me the land instead of going out to find the financing to purchase it. I thought that's, but that's the system, that's the programming we've been taught. So, the next one is going to come different way, a different, 64,000 acres. It's coming to me somehow to start our first
Well, there's so much
organizing.
space. There's so many spaces that can be used, and it's all really about, there's this part of people believe in the papers. I don't. However, there is, like, in most places, land is owned by somebody. So if you go live there, you will get into the situation where the owner is going to come in and say, what are you doing here, right? And he's going to be wanting to do something about it. So yeah, to me, it comes down not to the law, but to whoever has that place, figuring out with you what's the best course of action in the current state of the world, right? And most of them are going to choose money. I mean, seems like a simple.
Yeah.
It's always the immediate benefit, right? Obviously, they have to keep in mind that it's even if it's in theory worth that, or at least to the system or to the current economic system.
Yeah.
They really don't own it, and there's not much future in. I mean, they're not even selling it, right? They're just there's nobody buying it, right? It's just there for sale. So it's like a gamble, and everything is a gamble, right? People are gambling right now. They're gambling with, I'll be part of the system, and they're gambling on the money. They're gambling on, I'm going to go that way, and we're seeing that they're losing the gamble because people are losing their lives. They're being killed by the hospitals because of the programming of the minds, of the system, of what you were told by news, by movies, by everything. And it's a strong situation, and we have to really think about you'd like to point out the fun, right? Seeing it as the fun in doing it, because obviously it's not a boring thing. It's
well, you know what? I bathed in the fountains of liberty. It was so awesome. I have a young goat kid who she's not eating, so probably because I've been giving her stuff every 4 hours to make her really poop. So she came to the front porch a couple times and stood on the front porch and called to me. So I bathed in the fountains of freedom, true luxury, and went and sat on the front porch and let her fall asleep in my lap. The sun was shining directly on the porch, so it was nice and warm, and I could sit there and read and have a glass of wine with a baby goat sleeping in my lap.
Oh.
That was experiencing natural time, the rhythm of nature. She called me to come out, right? And it was truly
you can truly flow with
more luxury than that, than sitting on a porch with a baby goat.
That's an important thing, the luxury of being free. That
reaches up and nibbles on your nose, or
you can choose what you can do. You're not late for a meeting. You're not late. You don't have a deadline like which you're late for, and you know, you
Yeah.
can flow with nature, with the animals, with the sun, with the stars, with the moon, and the moon's out. It's that's beautiful, and it's fun, and it looks luxurious, and I want to really throw that out and for people to see and think, because they imagine, it's really programmed in us to imagine getting out of the system as this really tedious, you know, burdening activity, right? What? Because it is in for a little bit of, for a little lapse of time in our minds, it is realizing that we are enslaved. So it's easier to put the goggles on and just live in the virtual reality that tells you you're not and you're free. Or, you know, that taking off the goggles is the hard part. And because what we think is that, oh, what, sunshine? You know, that's too tough on me.
Sunshine's bad for me. I need SPF
Sunshine's
50
bad
to
for
be
me.
out.
That's it. Sunshine is bad for me.
I need
And-
SPF 50 to be out in the sun.
Right. So that's a hard part, but then that's it. I mean, it's really, I mean, I think it's way harder to be facing I mean, what's the fun in living by the prescription of the doctor, right? Or living by the appointment, and living by the, you know, the order of somebody else, and not your body, and not your home, and not your family, but your boss and your doctor and your lawyer and your, and you know, your president
Dentist and your veterinarian, and yeah, everyone, and my psychologist and my counselor and my life coach and my this and my that. And never do we get rid of all those external aids and become our own internal monarch.
Yeah. So let's yeah, let's highlight that anarchy word, and the importance of the internal monarchy, and the external anarchy, which is not lack of order. It's not everybody fighting against each other. Quite the contrary, just everybody having common sense and living
Working
by,
in
believing
community.
in the divine, in the sacred, in something
Yeah.
that they cannot fully understand, that they cannot
Yeah.
fully control, that is not fully explained, and it's not explained or owned by the government and the scientists and the whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
man,
for sure.
it's not in man's domain, right?
No,
It's in,
not at all. It's
so that's
in
an
the realm of the
awesome,
mystery.
awesome reflection, Ingrid. We've been for more than an hour. Do you want to
Yeah,
keep going? What do you
Time to-
think?
time to shut it down. I need to go to bed.
Okay. So
So
let me thank from all of my heart to everybody that was tuned into this long conversation. And as in everything that we do, it's very long, but at the same time, we're not in the same time. So we're not in the mechanistic necessity of, you know, tomorrow being on the meeting and whatever. So good information takes time. That's what I want to say. A process takes time, and an awakening and freedom takes work. It's not just voting. It's not just going to the protest. It's not just your donation. It really requires everything in you, not 10 cents from you, not 10% of your income, but everything you have to put it on the stove and to be free. That's what it takes. One Well, thank you, Ingrid, for that's the other big thanks to you, Ingrid, and to your guidance and to your effort and to your exemplary manifestation that you've created, our Freedom Nation. The service you're providing to divine service. So I really hope that people can be reciprocal to that and start living in reciprocity and pitch into this effort and to this process. So thank you to you
Calling.
too.
It's a divine calling. It's a divine mandate.
Yeah, so thank you to you, Ingrid.
Oh.
And we'll see you next week on more freedom conversations. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we say goodbye.
Goodbye.
So
Yeah.
see you, everybody. See you next week.
Okay. So do I just end or do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
The live stream, if you want to speak a little bit.
Yeah, how do I end the live stream? More, stop live